She slapped the bag out of my hand and screamed, "He stole from my son!" Right there, in front of the gas station door, people turned. Some pulled out phones. I didn't move. I didn't even flinch. My bag of groceries, eggs, cracked bread. Crushedly scattered on the concrete, her son, tall, red cap, maybe 19, was standing behind her, smirking. That smug little smirk like he'd just gotten away with something. I said calmly, "Your son tried to take my bag out of my truck." She pointed a shaking finger at me like I was some criminal. "You people think you can come into this neighborhood and just take what you want. This is an HOA community. We have rules." People kept watching, some whispered. Someone said, "Isn't that the guy who lives in lot 23? I didn't respond to her directly, just looked at the kid and asked, "Want to try and tell them what happened?" He looked nervous for a split second. Then Karen pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police," she hissed. "You're going to regret this. My husband is on the HOA board and I'm filing a complaint. You shouldn't even be living here." I took a breath, stepped back, and said nothing. 10 minutes later, 2 officers pulled up, blue lights flashing. Karen ran to them like she was the victim of a stabbing. "That man assaulted my son. He stole our groceries. He's trespassing. He's not a resident. I want him removed now." The younger officer looked at me, then back at her. "Ma'am, calm down. We'll handle it." I pulled out my ID and handed it over. I read it and paused. The older cop tilted his head, looked closer, then straightened. Karen looked confused. "Well, aren't you going to cuff him?" The officer slowly turned to her. "Ma'am, do you know who this man is?" She blinked, still clinging. To her drama, "He's a thief, probably here illegally." The officer cut her off. "This is Captain Malik Washington. He runs the precinct that covers this entire county." Karen's mouth opened, then shut, then opened again. Her face drained color. I looked at her son. "I have dashcam footage of him opening my truck and grabbing my groceries. Want me to press charges?" The smirk was gone now. The officer turned to me. "What do you want to do, Captain?" I glanced at Karen, then back at the officers. "Take a drive to the station. I think it's time we talk about what real theft looks like." Karen screamed something behind me as they escorted her son to the squad car. And in that moment, a lady filming across the street whispered just loud, enough for her mic to catch, "You messed with the wrong neighbor?" She didn't show up to the station that night. Instead, the next morning, I found a folded paper shoved under my door. No envelope. Just cheap printer paper and the words, "Immediate notice of HOA violation, unauthorized occupant. Vacate lot 23 within 48 hours. No signature. No letterhead, just intimidation." I stepped out onto my porch and saw Karen standing across the street in her front yard. Arms folded, sunglasses on, like some movie villain waiting to see if her bomb went off. She smirked the second our eyes met. "Looks like you'll be moving out soon," she called, just loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Should have stayed in your lane." I didn't answer. Instead, I walked back inside and pulled out the HOA agreement I had signed 3 years ago. Every word, every clause, every signature, I bought this house legally. Fully paid. With title, deed, and city registration. But this wasn't about paperwork. This was war by noon. I got 2 more fake notices. One about excessive noise at my property even though I was alone all morning. Another about improper use of driveway space. She was trying to bury me in paper, push me out with lies and fear. But I had something she didn't, while she paraded around like a queen with a clipboard. I made a call to my friend Carla. Real estate law, 15 years. In the game. She laughed when I read her the fake notice. "This isn't even a real HOA letter, Malik. No signature, no board approval. That's illegal, I knew it. But now I had confirmation. At 4:13 p.m., a tow truck pulled into my driveway. No warning, Karen. Stood behind it, phone out, pretending to record. "This vehicle is unauthorized. You've been notified?" I stepped out calmly and faced the driver. "You touched that truck," I said, "and you're assisting in an illegal seizure of private property. I suggest you back it up and call your dispatcher. The guy looked between me and Karen. She snapped, "Do it. He's trespassing." The HOA sent the order. The driver stepped away and looked nervous. "Ma'am, I need to confirm the paperwork. ... double quotes. I held up my phone, already reporting. "You tow that vehicle. I arrest you for theft." His eyes widened. "Wait. You're a cop." "I run the cops." Kieran shrieked. "He's lying. He's impersonating a police officer." Too bad the squad car pulled up at that exact second. Officer Torres got out, and it nodded at me and walked straight over. "Captain Washington," she said respectfully, then looked at Karen. "Ma'am, we've had several complaints about fake notices and false reports coming from this address." Karen's face twisted. "This is harassment. You people are all in on it." Torres raised a brow. "You people." Karen froze. My phone was still recording, and so was 3 other neighbors. Across the street. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No fake notices. No clipboard queen pacing the sidewalk, but I knew better than to think she was done. At 8:42 a.m., Carla texted me, "You're not going to believe this." She filed a formal complaint to the HOA. Bored, claiming you threatened her life. I blinked at the screen. Threatened her life? That's when I saw the email. Anonymous sender, a grainy, cropped photo of me on my porch. Holding my coffee, it was time-stamped from yesterday. The subject line just said, "Dangerous individual proof attached." I laughed out loud. Desperate people don't think straight. They just throw rocks and hope one hits, but that wasn't even the worst part. At noon, Child Protective Services officer showed up at my door. She was polite but firm. "We got an anonymous tip that there may be unsafe conditions here." "Do you have any children?" I stared at her. "No, I don't." She nodded slowly. "Figured. But we're required to follow up on every call." I stepped aside, let her look around. Nothing to hide. Just one man, one clean house. A long history of people like Karen trying to scare folks into silence. When she left, she apologized. I just shook my head and said, "You're doing your job." But inside, something burned. Karen had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to just sit and let her throw mud while pretending her hands were clean that night. Public records, HOA filings, property history, and that's when I found it. Karen's house technically belonged to her ex-husband. The deed had never been transferred. She was living there under his name. No legal claim. No board position. She wasn't just faking notices. She wasn't even supposed to be on the board at all. I printed everything. Every document. Every form. Every SAMD. By morning, I had a file thicker than a college textbook at 9 a.m. sharp. I walked into the official HOA meeting, where Karen sat at the head of the table like she was queen of the zip code. The board looked surprised to see me. "I'd like to address the recent complaints," I said, setting the file on the table. Karen immediately stood up. "He doesn't belong here. He's not a board member." I held up one hand. "Correct. But neither are you." And then I opened the file, dead silence. One man on the board whispered, "Wait. This can't be right." Karen's face drained of color. "Again, you've been pretending to hold power," I said calmly. "Sending fake notices, impersonating legal authority, and filing false reports. I'd say that makes you the threat." I turned to the board. "You have 2 choices. You can remove her, or I can take this to the county, the DA, and the news. Either way, it ends today." That silence. Stretched long, but the gavel finally came down, effective immediately. Chairman said, "Karen is removed from all HOA activities," she screamed. "This isn't over. I know people." But I just smiled and walked out because she had no idea what twist was still coming. 3 days. That's how long it took before Karen completely lost control. She went from strutting around the neighborhood with her clipboard to hiding behind half-drawn curtains. Her car stayed parked. Her porch light never came on. But then, on the 4th night, she snapped. I heard the banging around 2 a.m. Thump, thump, crack. I grabbed my phone, flicked on the porch cam. and watched live as Karen stumbled across my yard with a crowbar in her hand, dragging it along the hood of my truck, like a child scratching a chalkboard. She was muttering something. Her words were slurred. I hit record. Then I stepped outside. She turned fast, eyes wild. "You think you're better than me? You think you can come in here and ruin my life?" I didn't respond. She raised the crowbar. "This whole street was peaceful until you moved in." I took a step forward. Calm, slow, controlled. "Put it down, Karen." She blinked, shook her head. "They'll believe me. They always believe me." She swung. "It's not at me at the mailbox." Metal bent, wood snapped. That was enough. I called it in. Within 2 minutes, Torres and her partner were on the scene. Karen was still screaming when they cuffed her. "Victim. He harassed me. I have rights." Torres glanced at me. I handed her the phone. 30 seconds of crystal clear footage. Karen. Trespassing. Vandalizing. Screaming threats. Torres nodded. "That's more than enough." But I wasn't done. "Check her trunk," I said. They did. Sure enough, they found a stack of fake HOA notices, a box of pre-stamped envelopes, and a clipboard with over 50 names. Most of them crossed. Out Torres looked at me, brows raised. She's been running a personal war against the whole neighborhood. Karen started crying then. Loud, ugly sobs. "You ruined everything?" But I just said one thing as she was pushed into the squad car. "You did that yourself." As the door shut behind her, a small group of neighbors had gathered, watching, filming. Silent then. Someone said quietly, "About damn time." And the rest? They nodded. Because the Karen who thought she ruled everything just got evicted from her own kingdom, and justice wasn't done yet.